So, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to give a big thank you to everyone for coming out tonight, to the candidates and to the people in the audience. Thank you to all the people, all the student volunteers, and to the League of Women Voters for helping organize this event. This event is organized in a question and answer styled format, which means each candidate will be given 90 seconds to give an opening statement and a closing statement at the end of the question and answer segment. During the question and answer segment, questions from the audience will be read, and each candidate will be given 60 seconds to answer the question. After each candidate speaks, each candidate may give a rebuttal of 30 seconds, and then we will move on to a different question. I will now read the names of the candidates in order from left to right. Mr. Nimish Amin, Ms. Shilat Shipak, Mr. Keith Molinari, Mr. Lawrence Rashio, Ms. Gudia Singh, Ms. Erica Blackman, Ms. Janice Corrado, Ms. Deborah E. Penner-Smith, Ms. Suzanne Schaefer-Skalski. Thank you. I will now pass the microphone to the moderator of the event from the League of Women Voters.
Good evening. My name is Carol Harvey, and I'm here for the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters of Somerset and Hunterdon counties is pleased that the Ridge Empowerment for Political Participation student organization has asked us to moderate this event. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Empowering voters, defending democracy is our message. The League never supports or opposes political parties or candidates. We've already introduced the candidates, and you've understand the format. One thing you should know is that I myself do not now, nor have I ever lived or worked in Bernards Township, and I have no other current or former affiliations with this area. So I have no personal or professional interest in the outcome of this election or any township election. Finally, I do have a few requests to make of you, the audience. We have 9 candidates and a limited amount of time for all of these candidates to address your concerns and issues. Let's make the most of this time together. Please silence your electronic devices. Photographs or audio or video recording by audience members is not permitted. And also, please hold your applause until the end of the forum, and of course, refrain from any other interruptions during the forum. The focus is on allowing the candidates to communicate with you and you getting the information that you need via your questions. So we will now begin with an opening statement from candidate Amin.
Hi, everyone. Let me start by thanking both groups for hosting us, the League of Women Voters and the Ridge Rep Club. I'm really excited to be here. I want to share my vision of the BOE if I'm elected, and I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody else's vision also. Real quick about me, my name is Nimish Amin. I was born and raised in New Jersey, including undergrad and law school. My undergrad degree was in computer science, but I've been a practicing corporate lawyer for the last 25 years or so. And my wife and I moved to Basking Ridge in 2005. We have 2 kids right now, a 6th grader and a 9th grader. One of them is here, thank you. And we've had a great experience in Basking Ridge school systems. The teachers have been great, and my focus, if I'm elected to be on the BOE, is to make sure our schools are well-run, focused on academics, activities, and sports for the kids.
Now we will hear from, get my list here, candidate Sheila Chepak.
I want to thank you all for coming today to spend your evening with us. My name is Chilla Chipak. Why am I running? With one of my daughters in college and the other settled in primary school, I now have the sufficient time to dedicate my knowledge and experience to a significant volunteering position. I would like to give back to the community that warmly welcomed us when we moved to Bernards Township from California in 2019. As an architect, I believe my professional background will contribute to resolve some of the issues confronting the school district. I am a naturalized U.S. citizen, and I believe the school board needs to listen respectfully to all parents, taking the diverse thoughts into consideration, respecting the different life experiences of the residents from all around the world. Parents should always have a say in their children's education that needs to be age-appropriate, aligned with parental and cultural values. I share the American dream that brought many of us here, seeking equal opportunity and a safe environment to raise our family. As an engineer myself, I would like to see girls in our school district inspired and encouraged to go to STEAM fields. I strongly believe our daughters can take on any role they dream about. Our country needs a new generation of well-trained doctors, scientists, and engineers.
Thank you. We will now hear from candidate Molinari.
I'd like to start off by thanking everybody at this table. We all have different opinions, but at the core, we're all here for the betterment of our community and the advancement of our students. And I think that should be recognized. I myself am a product of New Jersey Public Schools. I went on to attain bachelor's degrees in history and sociology and an MBA from the University of Scranton. I am a veteran of the United States Army, and I'm currently a rare disease consultant for a pharmaceutical company. This background has given me a lot of experience in communicating with people from every walk of life, relaying complex scientific financial information on a dime, under pressure, and having to communicate it very succinctly. I think the skill set would serve the Board of Education well in relating to its various stakeholders, be that the superintendent, the administration, the students, and most importantly, the community. Now that's why I think I'm qualified. Why am I doing this? At the end of the day, I'm doing this because I love Bernards Township. I've lived here 22 years. My wife and I have raised our family here. We're still raising our family here. Our kids started out at Oak Street School, went to WAMS, now they're students at Ridge High School, and they have had a first-class educational experience. And at the end of the day, the entire reason I'm doing this is for the younger ones, the ones just starting their educational journey, to have that same sort of experience. I hope you'll give us the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from candidate Raccio.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming. My name is Larry Raccio. I've lived in Bernards Township since 2007. I have had two kids come up through the system. One is now a sophomore and one is now a senior at Ridge. Their experience here could not have been better. They've thrived socially and academically. I'm also celebrating my 20th anniversary tonight with my lovely wife, Susan, literally tonight. I was a biochemistry major at Syracuse University, but spent my career on Wall Street, having worked my way up from a temp administrative assistant, eventually to a senior managing director, and then eventually managing my own hedge fund. I owe this district a debt of gratitude for the resources they provided my son when he was diagnosed with cancer in first grade, then continued to provide when the week after ending chemo, he shattered his leg in a ski accident and was wheelchair bound for 5 months. The appreciation for his teachers, administrators, and nurses cannot be overstated. I volunteered my time as a coach in pretty much every RYSI sport out there, but my pride and joy had always been coaching the girls' softball team from the time they were peewees up. My experience in complex finance and business building, when combined with the skills and experience of my teammates, makes me and us uniquely qualified to tackle the most acute challenges facing this district. I urge everyone here to listen to every single candidate. respect the diversity, and ultimately decide who you think best serves your interest, whether it be me or anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from Gudya Singh.
Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for being here this evening to moderate our great debate. I would also like to thank my colleagues on the BOE as well as my opponents at this table for being here today as well. I am a mom of 3 young children, 8th grader, 2nd grader, and a kindergartner. My family and I have been living in Bernard for 6 years and moved here for the excellent school system. I've always believed that public schools are the backbone of preserving democracy. I believe our district helps our students grow and create successful and prosperous individuals who do good for society. Professionally, I have always been involved in public health and wellness. After undergrad, I went on to pursue public health, which landed me at a job on Wall Street, running wellness programming for employees all across the globe. I learned how to write and execute policies, balance international programming budgets, and trained employees in various countries. After leaving this position, I went on to culinary school and then on to integrative nutrition school, where I learned how to merge the concepts of mental and physical wellness together. I currently own a local business as a trained chef, licensed in health and wellness coaching, where I work with many members of the community to do just that. Ever since moving to Basking Ridge, I have volunteered my time within the schools as well. I was a class parent for several years, a chair for 5th grade celebrations, the PTO president at Annan, a Girl Scout troop leader for the past 6 years, which I still am, and I've also served on the Bernards Township Board of Education for the last 2 years, almost 2 years. I believe the success of our district is created through the individual success of every student. I want to improve communication between the board and the community, and I believe in creative problem solving.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
We will now hear from candidate Erica Blackman.
Hello, my name is Erica Blackman, and I am so excited to have the opportunity to serve my community as a candidate for Bernard's Board of Education. As an educator with over 16 years of teaching experience and a mother of 3 children, ages 10, 8, and 5, I felt I needed to step up and help my community in this way. When my husband and I were looking for the best town to raise our children, I knew Basking Ridge was the right place. It had everything: small town charm, wonderful people, an amazing award-winning school district made up of people from many cultures and backgrounds. It was exactly the place where we wanted to put down roots and make memories. I'm so grateful that my children have access to a complete curriculum that includes academics, athletics, the arts, and social emotional learning. I've even learned to say, I have grit and I won't quit when something is especially tough for me, just as they have. My young children have already benefited greatly from speech therapy, counseling services, access to technology, and the absolute best teachers anywhere. I want to continue these amazing programs and enhance our district with new ideas and an increase in communication with our parents and stakeholders. If I am given the opportunity to serve on our district school board, I will strengthen our communication so that community members and parents feel more included in their child's education. I think it's important to explain why the board makes certain decisions just as much as which decisions are being made. I know that we all have the same goals at heart. I know we are all here to help our children succeed. We need to work together to ensure that all children, regardless of need or background, feel safe, happy, and respected. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from candidate Janice Corrado.
Hi, my name is Janice Corrado, and I'm a candidate for the 3-year seat on the Bernards Township Board of Education. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and REP for this evening's opportunity to share my thoughts about serving on the board. My husband Dave and I have lived in Basking Ridge for 24 years. We've raised our 2 daughters here. Their teachers, school staff, and administrators have provided the educational foundation that is the hallmark of Bernards Township Public Schools. Our girls are thriving in college and middle school as a result. Teachers know that education is a partnership. Students, parents, and school administrators all play a role. In my work with the special education community as Vice President of Bernard CPAC, I know the important role the board has in making decisions about programs, policies, and resources to benefit all of the students in our district. I advocate with confidence on behalf of our special education families, and I know, working together with district administrators, we are changing the future for our special education children here in Bernards Township. An effective board member works collaboratively and respectfully with other board members, the district superintendent and administration, and with parents, students, and community members. My background and experience in education will help our district improve upon our already excellent programs, services, and resources to ensure the best education for all of our children.
Thank you. We will now hear from Deborah Penner-Smith.
Good evening, I'm Deborah Penner-Smith, and I've lived in Basking Ridge for 12 years. I have a BA in psychology from Drew and an MSW from Rutgers. I'm a social worker and a special education teacher. I was employed in many clinical settings before I began my teaching career, and I have 25 combined years of teaching and social work experience in the New Jersey public schools. As such, I am intimately acquainted with many of the challenges parents, children, and teachers face on a daily basis. I have a lifelong interest in advocacy for special populations and in teaching children with learning differences. I also have a significant interest in training in structured literacy. In addition to employment in the fields of both social work and special education, since 2008, I have been actively involved in New Jersey's volunteer parent alienation support groups. I'm a Wilson dyslexia practitioner. Now that I'm retired from full-time teaching, my private practice is devoted almost exclusively to helping adults, adolescents, and children with dyslexia learn to read. I'm married to Gary Smith. My 2 adult daughters, Catherine and Rachel, live with us currently. Both children graduated with degrees in nursing this spring and are working in pediatrics, one at RWJ and the other at Morristown. I'm extraordinarily proud of their accomplishments. I'm a lifetime equestrian and an amateur dressage rider and a hot yoga practitioner. I also quilt. I look forward to
Thank you
this
very
evening's
much.
discourse.
Okay. And we will now hear from Suzanne Schaefer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. If you have been following Board of Ed meetings, you might recognize me. My name is Suzanne Schaefer-Skalski, and I'm completing my 4th year as a Board of Ed member. I'd like to share a few things about me that maybe you don't know, but contribute to my perspective and contributions as a board member. My husband Mike and I have lived in Basking Ridge for 8 years and raised 2 children here, one a Ridge grad and one a senior here at Ridge. I've been committed to serving our community for many years, involved with volunteering at our schools, particularly in the arts areas. I have been a swim official at the Y, and I am the past president of my church council. Even my college education and career has added to my perspective on the Board of Ed. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Human Development from Cornell and a Master's of Science in Higher Education Administration from the University of Rochester. I've worked for 30 years on both sides of the admissions desk, as a college counselor helping students to apply to college and as an admissions officer at various universities. I ran for the Board of Ed in 2019 because I was concerned about the stress and anxiety level our students were facing. As chairperson of the Wellness Committee, I've supported the district strengthening our social and emotional learning program, which has proven to help our students thrive and excel academically and personally and become better, more caring citizens of the world. My motivation to run again is the desire to support our district in continuing to provide a world-class education, and it has been my privilege to serve as a member of the Board of Ed. I look forward to continuing to do so next year.
That concludes our opening statements. We will now turn to the questions. Candidates will answer in random order. We will ask a question, each candidate will answer that question, and I'll call out the name. So the first question is, what would be your first priority or priorities if you are elected? And our first, the question will be answered first by candidate Corrado.
I think if you're following education in the current environment, you know that there is a severe teacher retention situation. So I think that we need to take a look at, in our entire community, we need to take a look at how we are valuing our teachers, how we are respecting them. I think that our teachers in our community give a lot to our children. They give a lot to our entire community. And I feel that as much as we say that we revere what they do, I don't know that we always follow through with that. So I think that I would like to see us really focus our attention and our energies on retaining the wonderful teachers we have and recruiting exceptional teachers beyond that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schaefer?
Well, if I could continue to serve, I think one of my first priorities would be to continue to address the health and wellness concerns, the SEL, social and emotional learning. We've heard a lot from our students. The need for mental health services has risen since COVID, and I believe that we actually need to support our guidance staff. I would encourage us to consider raising the number of guidance counselors, both at the high school, at all levels, actually. And I believe that that should be one of our priorities that we have to address.
Okay, thank you. Now, candidate Molinari.
Well, if elected, my first priority will be establishing a collaborative working relationship with other members of the Board of Education, and then addressing the problems, some of the issues that face our district. Looking at how we can allocate resources to properly address the issues we've heard about over the last several months of talking to everybody in the community, be that the HVAC systems, the conditions of the athletic fields, and absolutely teacher retention as well. I think we have issues that have been sitting out there for a bit, and we need to start working together and taking input from the community as well, very importantly, to address those issues and bring the focus back to our students, their facilities, and their academics.
Thank you. Now we'll go to candidate Ratio.
Thank you. Well, first I need to learn from the existing board members the operations of things. Then second of all, I would start to go through tick for tick through everything that we heard at the BT Connect meeting. All the issues that we heard from teachers, from parents, and from students, and work on a way that we could tackle those problems. I mean, to be honest with you, there's been a lot of neglect, in my opinion. And when neglect and indecision meet, things don't get done. So I really want to open this up to parents. I would like to see the current board, the board setup, more like the BT Connect. I would want to expand the time that we have for community interaction. But priority number one is going tick for tick and getting the things done that we need to get done.
All right, thank you. Now we go to Mr. Candidate Amin.
So similar to what my running mate Larry Ratio said, I want us to have goals set up. It's easy for everybody to say we're doing great, everybody likes to cheer everybody, but let's set up goals. Let's all agree on what the goals are at the beginning of the year. Let's start measuring them. That should include teacher retention, that should include student satisfaction, that should include schools' testing scores, that should include sports fields being fixed. Let's agree these are the top 10 things that we're going to do. Let everybody see it, let everybody have input to it, and then measure it. Measure it monthly, measure it periodically so that people are focused on it, and at the end of the year, we can all evaluate how we did against those goals. Otherwise, it's easy for people to get lost, it's easy for the board to lose focus, and it's easy for the administration to not focus on what needs to be done. But I think let's agree on goals, let's measure them, and then evaluate ourselves at the end of the year.
Thank you. Now we go to candidate Chepak.
I would like to work on increasing transparency. I would like to improve communication. I will be open to listen and learn. It is necessary to identify all the problems. From the last BT Connect meeting, we did see that there are a lot of issues with maintenance problems. I think we need an action plan put together and work on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Singh.
Thank you, Carol. You know, the Board of Education in Bernards, their first priority on the website is education. So obviously, to make sure our ratings stay high, ensuring our teachers have what they need professional development-wise and, you know, mental awareness of how they're feeling, how their initiatives are going, providing support for students, staff, administration, as well as the parents and community members of Bernards who are not involved in the school system. So the taxpayers that are here, they all should be able to benefit from some of the wellness offerings that our town can provide. I think in about 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a big teacher shortage, so keeping our teachers on board is definitely a big priority for me. And the BT Connects have been excellent, so making more of those opportunities happen for the community. Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll hear from candidate Penner Smith.
Our country faces chronic teacher shortages, significant drops in math and reading scores, and an adolescent mental health crisis. While none of these particular issues affects all districts equally, it seems to me that we in Bernards Township should make every attempt to understand national trends in these areas, as we are members of a greater whole. Thank you.
And finally, we will hear from candidate Blackman.
My first priority, if elected, would be to increase communication with parents and strengthen our liaison groups so more parents feel included. As I speak with parents at school pickup line or over coffee, there's a lot that they don't know that is happening in our schools, and I really want to be the one as a teacher, as a mother, and hopefully as a board member to be able to connect all of these groups together because we need to be a team. No one group can do this alone, and we're all here for the betterment of our students. So I would love to be the one to be able to bridge these gaps. I have come to almost every single BOE meetings in the past 2 years, and I have learned so much about programs that are at the middle school level and the high school level. I have learned about our test scores, where we are in the nation, and I just think it's very important that we get all of that information out to the community as a whole. Thank you.
All right, that completes our first round of questioning. Before we go on to the next, is there someone who would like to have rebuttal time? Is that Mr. Molinari or Ms. Chepak? Okay.
Yes, just to follow on point, one theme that seems to be with a lot of us is the importance of retaining our teachers. And I touched on the HVAC system and some of the conditions in our schools, and I think a big part of teacher retention is having facilities that are comfortable to work in and conducive to learning, where temperatures aren't swinging 15 degrees from 1 hour to the next, or work orders aren't going unfulfilled. So I think a focus on facilities management and maintenance has to be a priority as well.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, Mr. Amin?
Yep. Just to build on Keith Molinari's point, I hear buses aren't coming on time. Cafeteria lines are too long. These are the little things that have been neglected, and we should hold the administration accountable to improve those things. If the administration can't improve them, then the board has to hold the administration accountable.
Okay. Mr. Braccio?
And one last thing to be out for my colleagues. There's a lot of lip service about teacher retention, but how do you retain teachers? You bring their pay scale up and you give them what they need, right? Work orders can't go unsigned, right? These teachers need to work in an environment where they don't feel stressed for things outside of the classroom. Thanks.
All right. Okay, well.
I have a rebuttal.
Oh, sorry.
I have actually an add-on. You know, being on the board, we're discussing the facilities and some of these issues that some of our colleagues up here have mentioned, and so it is something that's always constantly on the radar. So it's not that, you know, we're neglecting or the administration is at fault. It's just a product of what's happening these days with the supply and demand, and, you know, getting people to work is really difficult for some reason. So we're all feeling that.
Okay. Well, any more? Going once? Going twice? Okay, we'll move on to the second question. What does a broad-based, unbiased, transparent curriculum look like? And what projects or programs do you feel do not improve academic success or promote students' well-being? And that question goes first to candidate Molinari.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, okay. It's a mouthful, I know. I've got to get closer to the light here. What does a broad-based, unbiased, transparent curriculum look like? And what projects or programs do you feel do not improve academic success or promote students' well-being?
Well, from a perspective of a history major, an unbiased program, an unbiased history program, looks like one that takes in the full accounting of, let's use American history example, the good, the bad, our successes, our failures, where we've lived up to our ideals and where we still have some work to do. I think an unbiased curriculum comes from input from first and foremost from our professionals, our teachers, overseen by the administration, which is overseen by the Board of Education, with input from the community. Now, as to the question of what programs or policies are not part of a balanced curriculum, if I'm understanding the question correctly, let's go back to the DEI survey that the Board of Education approved last fall. Now, it was not really all that inclusive because, for instance, the parents of exceptional children sent a letter to the superintendent saying that many of their students couldn't complete the survey. So that was certainly not unbiased and broad-based if it excluded a portion of our student population.
Thank you. Okay, we next give candidate Amin a chance at this.
The way I look at this is sometimes when things aren't broken, they don't need to be fixed. We have a lot of problems. You heard a lot of issues. And if the current curriculum is working, then why are we wasting so much time and energy and focus on that? And it's causing a lot of neglect on the actual problems that we're having. So unless there's a reason to fix something in the curriculum, let's fix and focus on the problems we actually do have.
Okay. Now we'll go to candidate Blackman.
I believe that our students should learn all about our nation's history, the good and the bad. They should be allowed to choose any book they want and learn empathy from other people's experiences. I also want to point out that our transparent curriculum is already online for parents to view. During the pandemic, I actually pulled my students from the district and homeschooled because I am a teacher and I have that experience. But I used the district's curriculum that was available online because I knew eventually when it was safe, they would go back, and they have been, and they've been thriving. But we are a transparent district with a curriculum that is available for everybody. In addition to that, the programs that we have in place is a complete education. I don't think you can take out any kind of program and continue to have the education that we give our students. Social emotional learning, arts, sports, drama program, speech therapy, it is all necessary for all of our students. Thank you.
And we will hear now from candidate Corrado.
The district has focused its strategic plan on an area on health and wellness over the last year or two. And it's so important that schools are seen as places where students feel safe and secure, and that they know that there are teachers and school staff willing to listen to them and support them. That's an environment where students feel that they can take risks and learn new things and be open to whatever is the discussion going on in their classrooms. That's what an environment for learning should look like in my mind. And I think that academic success naturally comes as a result of that, feeling safe and secure and being open.
Thank you. Now it's candidate Schaefer's turn.
I think if you want to look for a broad-based, unbiased, transparent curriculum, you can look at our curriculum online. It is all there, and it is really very much all broad-based and unbiased. I think the idea that there are projects and programs that do not promote student achievement is looking at things backwards. I've heard people commenting we should get back to basics and reading, writing, and arithmetic, but our classes are there for lots of reasons, for 21st century knowledge and achievement, and things like Ridge Gives Back, which has been criticized for taking up time. It was 10,000 community service hours done by our school, by the high school, which was very, unique, and so many students came back and said that it was the best day they've ever experienced. So I think so many of our extra or co-curricular programs are in support of their academic achievement.
Thank you. And now we will hear from candidate Penner Smith.
I attended the BT Connect meeting at Ridge High School on August 24th, where the issue of transparency was raised a lot. I want to address specifically the issue of transparency regarding classroom discourse. I believe if any parent is unclear about what has transpired or what is to transpire during any lesson in any classroom in any content area, the parent's first contact should be with the classroom teacher to discuss the concern or the issue at hand. My experience has been that most questions are best and adequately addressed in this manner. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll turn to candidate Chepak.
What an ideal and balanced curriculum looks like. For myself, I have the feeling that our school district already knows. I went to our webpage, and the Berners Township School District webpage at the Special Services Mission Statement, I have found probably the most beautifully phrased balanced curriculum definition. To promote positive parent-school partnership that strongly believes in the collaborative efforts of staff and parents in designing programs that enhance each child's development. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from candidate Singh.
As a few of our colleagues up here said, our curriculum is all online, and if there have been any other issues, I found just emailing the teacher directly to be very helpful. My experience has always been positive with our educators, and they have always been able to answer any question that I may have during my 6 years here. I also agree, I think the kids have to learn everything. I'm all about teaching the basics, but we are a progressive society and it's going to keep moving forward. So we need to think about how our education can also be a little bit more progressive to meet the demands and the needs. Kids will find out most of the stuff that some parents don't want them to find out. I mean, you can't keep your children in a bubble. Social media and internet in general will prevent that. So yes, and some of our districts that we compare ourselves to, they teach interdisciplinary classes right now, which are basically hitting two birds with one stone. You are doing art, but you're also learning about history. So something to think about.
Oh, thank you. And finally, we'll hear from candidate Raccio.
I think Ridge does offer a broad-based education. I mean, it excels in the arts, it excels in sports, it excels in special education. What I fear is, though, that we're losing focus on educating our kids for the skills that are going to be successful going forward, right? The world is changing. The macro environment changes all the time. STEM, computer science, Mandarin, right? This is the way the world is going, whether we like it or not. So focusing on those aspects of education, I think, are vital to our success.
Okay, well, thank you. Please hold. Thank you very much. Now we will go to rebuttals. Who would like some time? Okay, that's Mr. Molinari. Mr. Molinari?
I'll start again. Just as far as a transparency issue, I agree that the best way to start any conversation about concerns about what's in the curriculum is for a parent to reach out to a teacher. But to get the idea of what's in the curriculum and looking online, while it may be online, I would counter and say if a parent has to spend hours researching the details and it's not really just there at their fingertips, that's not really transparent. I mean, with today's technology, we should be able to find anything with a keyword search. And I know parents in the district who have spent hours diving into that website to try to find what they need. I don't find that transparent.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, who is that? Ms. Singh?
Yes. What Mr. Molinari said is true. I think our websites they need a little help, but they have so much information on there. So it's not that you can't find it, it's actually really difficult to find. And I've felt that as well, but we are making changes, and I know that's a big priority for the administration and staff.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Ms. Blackman.
As I mentioned before, I was able to access the entire curriculum before I even started coming to Board of Education meetings, before I decided to run for the board, and I did not find it difficult. Actually, I found it very user-friendly. Some of it might be difficult for parents that don't understand curriculum or how to do that, but I thought that the way it was run you could do by the month, you could do by this subject, and I thought that being able to see everything that a teacher was teaching throughout the year was very helpful.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, well, for something a little bit different, we may have some parents out there with students who are kind of struggling in school because of the whole COVID hiatus. So they would like you to share your thoughts on how we can help those students who are dealing with COVID learning loss. Okay, and we're going to throw this first to Candidate Schaefer.
So that's a great question, and actually our district emerged from COVID in better shape than a lot of places, and that's been established through, as we all love, testing, but we put into effect a couple of programs over the summers to try to minimize learning, especially in the elementary schools for early readers, that I think was really critical. We put into a program called 95%, which has been wonderful in the elementary school, catching students up. And I think that, over time, it's just going to take some time for students to work through some of these issues. But we've come out in much better shape than other school districts. I know from a college perspective, I can say that colleges are looking and knowing what students have encountered. Everyone went through COVID, and we're going to be looking at that carefully.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Candidate Blackman.
I think that many students are dealing with COVID learning loss, including my youngest child. I think that having more teacher aides in the classroom, maybe at the younger level, kindergarten and first grade especially, can help, because I think a lot of our youngest students don't really know how to sit in a classroom or follow directions or follow routines. And I think by retaining some more teacher aides, that would be extremely helpful for the general education teacher to make sure she or he can continue to teach what's necessary while having a teacher aide coming behind and helping the students that might not be getting it right away. I also think that retaining our counselors and, in addition, adding some more counselors at our elementary level would be extremely helpful. At a Board of Ed meeting, I had learned that almost double the amount of students went to see a counselor last year because of anxiety issues, possibly related to COVID and other social things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now hear from Candidate Chepak.
Unfortunately, learning loss did occur during the COVID years. I think that most importantly, it would be to identify the students who need help, and I would rely on our experts on this issue to our wonderful teachers. I would be fully supporting them whatever they need to achieve with the children their full potential to work out this learning loss.
All right, thank you. And we'll now turn to Candidate Molinari.
Yes, so I think in our overall testing scores, our district weathered the COVID storm very admirably. That's in the aggregate. In the individual students, there's definitely students who are struggling with learning loss. I've seen it myself. And, we're doing a good job as a district getting those children back to where they need to be. I mean, our teachers are great. They're there early in the morning or late in the afternoon for extra help. There's actual extra help courses that can help a student, get up to speed in their given course of study. So, our district is doing this very well. I think what we have to do, though, we do have to take the learning from the COVID time and realize that, there's no substitute for in-person learning. I mean, some human endeavors are just a face-to-face endeavor, not an on-the-screen endeavor, and education is one of those. So let's take that lesson and, take it to heart for future situations that might come up.
Thank you. Now we'll turn to candidate Penner Smith.
Thank you. I think the most important thing is that we have our students and our teachers back in the classroom. And we need to approach the next year, or however long it takes, with an understanding that the catch-up is going to just take some time.
Thank you. And now we'll turn to candidate Corrado.
Our small class sizes in our district means that our teachers really know our students, and they know which students are struggling. They also have the data through state testing, standardized testing, MAP tests, to know which students are falling behind and to be able to catch them up. I would like to see our district lead the way in terms of establishing more inclusion classes where special education and general education teachers co-teach a class, so that there are 2 teachers available and that students who are struggling with a concept have the opportunity to work closely with a special education teacher who might have different strategies for learning.
All right. Okay. Now we'll hear from candidate Raccio.
We have to start off with metrics. I tend to like to take a surgical approach. Which kids are struggling? What subjects are they struggling in? Rather than just kind of throw a blanket, we need more counselors. But I couldn't agree with you more with the special ed. I think special ed students learn a lot from interacting a lot with the general population. I really do, and I think both sides learn. And I think one of the things that was lost during the COVID thing was that personal interaction. My son is a mentor, one of the big brothers, I think that's what you call it, big brother, for 2 autistic children, and he has thrived, and they're thriving with him. So I couldn't agree with you more on that, but thanks.
Okay. Candidate Amin.
So as a couple of other people have said already, I think it's too bad that there's been some learning loss, and we should focus on those students. But we should keep in mind that in-person learning is very important. That seemed to have been lost, and that is what's causing this issue. But let's retain the good teachers that we've talked about, have them help the students struggling, but most importantly, keep in mind that in-person learning is very important, and everybody should keep that in mind for when and if this type of situation is ever in question again.
All right. And now we'll have candidate Singh.
When we, were able to come back into school in person, there were not many people happier than me. Being at home with 3 kids was driving me crazy. So the in-person factor is huge in most of, our families in this district. We really value that in-person learning. I think very conveniently we had a DEI survey done at the beginning of the year, so I feel like we will learn a little bit more from certain students in how they have learned over the past couple years during the pandemic. I also, don't want to forget about the numbers. Our SAT scores still went up between now and 2020 or 2018, and they're still 300 points higher than the national average, which is great to know. But yes, I do think we do have to, focus on the individual students who are feeling the stress.
All right. Well, that completes question 3. Now it's time for rebuttals, if there are any. Okay. Did I see Mr. Raccio first?
I think it's important for everybody to know, though, that as board members, we don't really control the curriculum. What we can do is hold the administration accountable. I mean, let's not forget that the schools were closed, not by our choice, not by the students' choice, maybe not even by our school's choice. But all we can do as board members is make sure that the administration and those in charge of curriculum follow through, and they address the learning loss. Thanks.
Okay. And Ms. Blackman?
Just wanted to respond to the comment of throwing counselors at the problem. That was not my intention. It is more to make sure that counselors are available for students and not pulled for things like testing coordinators, because in educational research, Maslow has a hierarchy of needs in which states that children need to feel safe and secure before any learning can take place.
Okay. Oh, Ms. Schaefer?
I would just
Okay,
like-
Yes, oh, sorry. Yeah.
I would just like to add that we have been trying to identify the students who have had the most learning loss and work with them. And thanks to our talented administration, they've been able to do that. We're not taking classroom time away from the teachers, but instead working to support the students who have had the most learning loss.
Okay. Mr. Amin?
I think going back to what I had started with and what Larry Rascio mentioned, we need data. How much learning loss has there been? I have seen zero information from the administration or the school board showing what the learning loss has been. Why is that? Has there been learning loss? And then once we figure that out, then we can figure out next steps. It's too easy to say there's been learning loss. We don't need counselors. We need counselors. We need to see data, and the administration has to provide that data.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Well, our next question is, how will you support LGBTQ+ students? And that goes first to Mr. Amin.
I'm a big proponent of supporting all students, whether they're LGBTQ, whether they're not, whether they're short, tall, glasses, not glasses. I think everybody should be respected. My kids know not to differentiate between people and treat everybody with kindness, and I expect them to do that. I expect other parents to do that, and if there are situations where that's not happening, I expect the school to step up and take disciplinary action against students who aren't doing that.
Okay, now we'll go to candidate Raccio.
I mean, that's a label that I don't know, right? Because all students are the same, right? Content of character. I don't treat anybody differently based on anything, right? We have an equal opportunity at the school. Everybody treats each other with respect, whether you're LGBTQ, right? Long, tall, short, whatever you are, you should be all treated the same. Everybody deserves the same amount of respect.
All right, and now Mr. Molinari.
Yes, I agree with Nimish and Larry. We keep putting labels and dividing students into different groups. And at the end of the day, they're all students of Berners Township. They're all Americans. They're all, we are all us. So I don't think it's always useful to do that. We support all our students. And if any student needs something extra, that's why we have robust social and emotional learning programs. That's why we have guidance counselors. And that's why we strive to have good communications with parents.
All right. Candidate Penner-Smith.
Well, I agree with everyone. It certainly is important to support differences. I think it is all differences. I think it's important that teachers and administrators and students also need to be educated about LGBTQ+ student issues, and we need to encourage robust and educated counseling staffs. Thank you.
All right, now we'll hear from candidate Blackman.
I definitely think the district should fully support all students and staff members, regardless of religion, race, or sexual orientation. However, I also want my children to go to a high school where they're allowed to have a gay-straight alliance, where they can explore who they are without judgment. I don't know their sexual orientation, they are just children, but I truly hope when they get older, they are in a school that supports them regardless of whom they love, and when they feel confused or different or judged, they should have a safe space in which they can turn. It's not about dividing or labeling, it's about celebrating and respecting differences.
Okay, now we'll hear from candidate Singh.
I think one of the most important things that we can teach our students and staff is empathy and equality while feeling heard, understood, and feeling safe is absolutely the most important priority. We're teaching our students to be global citizens, to uphold civic duties, and that includes respecting everyone in their decisions. So I also don't have an affinity towards a label one way or the other, but I don't think that we need to, put extra pressure on somebody to explore or, call themselves something if they don't want to. I feel like every family makes their own decisions. We're teaching in a public school system, so they're going to learn about everything, but every family is entitled to make their own decision as a family.
Okay, now candidate Schaefer.
All of our students do need support, but in particular, what my fellow candidates up here have not acknowledged is that during the arguments over the health and wellness curriculum, there were many citizens of this town who expressed opinions that we should not have inclusion of LGBTQ representation in our curriculum, which we solidly and vocally voiced our defense of in the curriculum in the Board of Ed. And I do believe that we need to have all of our students understanding, appreciating, and supporting diverse experiences of the citizens. And we don't have any room for homophobia or lack of representation in our curriculum. So to support students, we need to see examples in the curriculum, we need to show empathy, and try to keep the students feeling like everyone is represented within our district.
Now we will hear from candidate Corrado.
Schools should be places of safety and security for all students, but not every teacher has experienced helping a family member or a friend through issues related to LGBTQ. And I believe that it's our job as a district to provide training for teachers if they need that, and to provide them resources so that they understand what it's like for children who are experiencing confusion and questioning their identity. I believe that it should be done, and I believe that students go to teachers because they trust them. They are a trusted adult in these children's lives, and so I think we have an obligation to be able to support them in the school.
All right, and finally, we will hear from candidate Chepak.
I can only agree with my running mates, Mr. Amin, Mr. Rashio, and Mr. Molinari. This is a supporting, loving community. All our children are equal. We love them equally. We support all of our students regardless of their race, religion, identity. We have wonderful counseling services. We just have to be sure that the students know about them and they get their help in their social emotional development.
All right, well, we can go now to rebuttals. If someone would like to rebut or offer more comment. Okay, then I guess we can move along to the next question. Well, we will move on to the next question, and this is going to circle back on something that was raised during the priorities question, the first question, and that is, the fact that we are facing a state teacher shortage. So beyond salaries and benefits, how can the Board of Education and the school system recruit and retain strong teachers and aides? And we're going to throw that first to Ms. Penner-Smith.
So I guess I'm stuck a little bit with the question because I think it's very hard to get beyond salaries and benefits. I can say that as a professional teacher, one salary was never enough for my family to live on. Teachers work, they get paid 10 months out of the year. They always work in the summer because they don't get paid in July and August. Many of us tutor after school and have second or third jobs sometimes. So in terms of addressing a teacher shortage, one thing we do need to be very concerned about is salaries and benefits. There are a lot of other things also that people are concerned about, respect in the classroom, et cetera, but those are on my list of most important things to keep people actively engaged in the teaching profession. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're going to hear now from candidate Molinari.
Well, teacher retention is vital. Our teachers are the best asset this district has. And I agree, salaries and benefits are primary, and it really all comes back to prudent financial management. Are we allocating the district resources properly that when a negotiation time comes, that we can pay the teachers properly? And are we asking the right questions? Why do we have more administrators than comparable school districts? Why do we have a bigger staff overhead now, not teachers, but a bigger administrative staff overhead now than 10 years ago when our rankings were just as strong, if not stronger, and we had more students? Why do we have more staff now? That doesn't seem to be prudent financial management. There could be good reasons for it, but I think we need to at least start asking those questions and also tying the financial management back to capital projects. HVAC improvements, work orders going unfulfilled, working conditions, salary and benefits, and appropriate professional development opportunities. I think that's the way we can keep our good teachers in district.
Okay. Oh, now we're going to ask candidate Blackman to respond.
I think the best way to retain teachers is respect. I think that we need to get back to trusting our teachers as the professionals that they are. Every single teacher in this district has gone through years of training, as well as a certification test, as well as professional development, and continue to be demonized by certain people, maybe not here, but maybe nationally. And it's something that we need to make sure that we are taking care of our teachers here, because we know they are amazing. We know that our teachers know their students and what their students need. We need to respect our teachers and remember that they are not going to do anything to harm our students. The only thing that they are here to do is to educate and keep our students safe. And I think by showing them the respect that their profession deserves is the best way to make sure that they are still here in the future.
And now we will hear from candidate Singh.
I spoke briefly about the teacher shortage earlier as well. I think that's a hot topic that we're all very concerned about. The respect is definitely something the teachers need and deserve. They go through certifications and years of training to become our teachers, and they're with our kids more than we are sometimes. So I think that's definitely a thing. Salaries and benefits, out of our capital reserve, 2/3 of our reserve goes to salaries and benefits. So we can always do better, of course, but that it's not that we're not paying our teachers enough. Our teachers are getting paid, and if we can pay them more, we would at this point. If we cut administrators, as some of the other candidates have mentioned, who is going to pick up their work? Is it going to be the teachers? Is it going to be parents? Who's going to come in and do the slack? Who's going to pick up that slack? So that's something that I think everyone needs to think about. Things that we have done for our teachers, the PTO at Ridge created this lounge for the teachers, and it's been really well received. Ridge Gives Back was also very popular with the teachers. We have to think more about that and their mental wellness as well.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Corrado.
So there's a relationship between a parent and a student and a teacher, right? It's all about relationships. And if we are not communicating with the teachers, but we decide we're going to call the superintendent because we don't like something that was said in a classroom, there's going to be a repercussion in terms of your relationship with the teacher. I think that I was talking with an administrator in another district yesterday, and I learned that there are 75% fewer teacher candidates graduating from college than there were 5 years ago. This is creating a situation where teachers can go pretty much to any district they would like to go to, and it's not about money. It's about respect, and it's about convenience. Maybe they want to live closer, work closer to where they live. We need to treat our teachers with the respect that they deserve. They are trained, they are smart, and they're good people. We need to keep them.
Okay, now, yep. Come on, you've been very good so far. You'll have your chance, I promise. Now we'll hear from candidate Schaefer.
Teachers have so much on their plates these days. It's no wonder that students are not going into teaching. They have tech demands. I mean, how many websites do teachers have to update? How many of us have said, why can't they get those grades in faster? There's pressure to excel. Everybody wants their students to do really well. We're asking our teachers to keep our children safe in the classrooms. There are suggestions that we take away administration. Well, we want our teachers to teach. Let's let them teach. They are professionals. They're trained. Their professionalism is exceptional in this district. And I agree with Mr. Raschio. Teachers are our best asset, and we need to continue to support them.
Okay, and now we will hear from candidate Chepak.
We can all agree that our teachers are the most valuable asset to our school district. They should be our priority. We love them. We want to keep them. I asked our administrators what they see, why the teachers are leaving. Many times it could be personal reasons or being underpaid, or the atmosphere that they are experiencing. Personally, I would love to learn from teachers directly how they see. How can we help?
Thank you, and now we'll hand it to candidate Raschio.
I think it starts with getting teachers the supplies they need, whether that be a comfortable climate in their room for the HVAC problems or not having rodents run across their feet. It also comes down to we pay our teachers $1,000 above state median, right, where administrators are paid more. I think it's a legitimate question to ask why we have the most vice principals, 10, for 6 schools versus other districts. We need to get our financial house in order to retain these teachers. It's nice to say we want to retain them, but it takes money and it takes facts.
All right, and now we'll hear from, last but not least, candidate Amin.
Yeah, I think it's odd for everybody to guess at why teachers are leaving. Let's ask the teachers. Let's find out why they've left. Let's engage with the ones that are still here and what it'll take to keep them here. As Larry pointed out, we have a definite financial issue there, as Chilla pointed out. We have a lot of administrators. Let's have them meet with all the teachers and get their views of why they are staying here, what would compel them to stay here even longer. It's easy to say we respect teachers, we should trust them, but those are empty words. Let's actually have the discussion with the teachers. There's in-service days. Let's spend one of those days to actually engage with the teachers, find out what they are thinking, and let's make sure we retain them before they actually leave. Once they leave, it's too late. But for the ones that have left, why hasn't the administration already found out why they've left? Are those things that we can correct or not? That's something that the board has to hold the administration accountable for.
Thank you. All right, do we have, okay, we have candidate Schaefer for rebuttal.
I want to point out that we did actually survey, try to figure out which of the teachers that left in the past. We did not have an exceptional number of teachers leave, except for retirements and for other personal reasons. So it was not an exceptional year, and I think our teachers stay for a couple of unusual benefits. We have a thing called Staff College, which is really amazing. We are asking the teachers and things about what we can do to retain them, because we do want to retain them. If there's a supply issue, then we need to keep the good people we've got.
Okay, I think I saw, was that Mr. Raschio first?
Well, we did lose, 7 teachers last year because of enrollment decline. we lost no administrators, right? And administrators are important, there's no doubt, but the question is, show me quantitative proof of the value added for each one, right? There's a huge divergence between our population decline and our administration. Our administration is flat. Every single time we have to cut costs or cut programs, it's the teachers who go first.
Okay, and then I think Mr. Amin would like to speak.
Yes, please. So it goes back to a word that somebody didn't like before, transparency. Where is that information of why the teachers are leaving? Where's the data that shows where we are average or we're okay? Teachers at the meeting I was at last week have, again, the HVAC, but that hasn't been fixed. So it's easy to say we've talked to them. We haven't seen it, we haven't seen data, and it hasn't been shared with us.
Okay, that's Candidate Singh.
I think there's a little bit of an optics issue here because sometimes teachers leave for personal reasons and we are not actually allowed to talk about it. It's a personnel file. It's just as if you got fired from work or if you quit your job. The public wouldn't know why you quit or why you were fired. Neither would your colleagues unless they spoke about it amongst themselves. So it's just, to be mindful of that. And also with the optics, last year we did have a lot of retirees and it was exceptionally more than in past years. So it just maybe seems like there's misinformation out there. I just want to make sure you guys are checking your facts before saying that.
Okay, do we have anybody? Okay. We want to hear from Candidate Molinari.
Well, there's going to be factors leading to teachers leaving that nobody has any control over, like retirements just referenced. But the things we do have control over, many people on this dais have mentioned respect. I mean, respect equals fair pay and good working conditions. Not filling work orders, I don't find that to be respectful. Paying so much less percentage-wise than the administration, I don't feel that that's respectful either. And as far as trusting our teachers, I trust our teachers implicitly. Even if the policy they have to implement at times is bad, I trust them to implement that bad policy to the best of their ability.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Corrado?
There seems to be a lot of discussion recently about the role of administration, what the administrators actually do in a school building. And, I've served on enough principal advisory committees to know exactly what they do. But if you haven't had that experience, I encourage you to reach out to the principal or to the administrator and ask exactly what their job responsibilities are. I'm sure they'd be happy to share that with you, and it would probably give you an understanding of exactly what's going on behind the walls of the school building.
Okay, all right. Whoa. No. We appreciate your enthusiasm. Now, any more rebuttals before we continue to, we'll likely make the last question. And I'm torn here as to should I ask you a really hard one or, I'm not sure they're all hard, but let me ask you this because I understand this concern and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. Now, how will you address the issues around massive traffic backups every morning, which leads to far too frequent accidents for parent and student drivers? Yes, it sounds funny, but there's a little serious note behind that as well. So let me ask Ms. Candidate Singh to weigh in first.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, okay. The question deals with the traffic issues in the morning, which, according to the question, leads to far too frequent accidents for parents and student drivers. But there's a traffic problem, clearly, I guess.
There's definitely a traffic problem. I have experienced it personally on many different levels at many different times because I have kids in different schools. One thing that I do want to point out is even though there seems to be a busing shortage, I have a kindergartner who just started, and she was very apprehensive about getting on the bus. So I've been actually getting on the bus with her and making her sit and then coming off, and we're the last stop. There's nobody on the bus. So, that's one thing that I want to point out. I think parents are not putting their kids on the bus as they could, especially if they're in the zone to do that. Another thing that we may implore on the board with, this dynamic team is to create another exit, especially from the high school. I think that's a big problem, especially with events and just, that morning commute, the afternoon commute. It's definitely a problem, and it's on the agenda for me personally to figure out by the time, we really have to deal with it on a personal level, but I know everyone's dealing with it already, so
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we'll hear from candidate Schaefer.
Okay, traffic in the morning. The Board of Ed does not control the cars, but I will say that one of the things that we've been discussing and has not come up this evening, but I really support, is the shift of the start times. And with the consideration of that start time, having the high school and the middle school start later and the elementary schools starting earlier, one of the biggest issues that we've sort of had to think about is the traffic. So we're working with the town to try to identify what traffic patterns, how that would affect the commutes, things like that. But really, traffic is a little bit beyond us. But we are working with the town. We're talking about alternative entrances to Ridge and how we can get some of this traffic moving. It's just a difficult situation when we've got two schools right next to each other. But it isn't that it hasn't been considered. It definitely has. And I think that the shifting of the time could create some easement of that too.
Okay, now we'll hear from candidate Chepak.
Again, with this one, I would again lean on experts, our wonderful police department. We did have problem with the Liberty Corner School as well. In the morning, the traffic was always very heavy, congestions, everyone was nervous. We have had 2 police men helping out there, just taking notes, observing what is going on, and they came up with a very simple solution. The drop-off time should start 10 minutes earlier, and it works like a charm. Again, the experts in traffic, we need to ask them. There are so many engineers, policemen who know more than we do and can help.
Okay, now we'll hear from candidate Amin.
Yeah, so similar to what Chilla was saying, I think we have to rely on experts, and the administration has to engage those experts and have it on their goals to solve that problem. We can't just say it's people. We can't control parents driving cars, but maybe figure out why people are resorting to cars. Is it because they haven't been able to rely on buses, and now have just said it's easier for me to drive every day? Is it that it's changing the drop-off time? This is something the administration has to figure out and held accountable, and that's the board's job to hold the administration accountable.
Okay, now it's candidate Blackman's turn.
I think this would be a really great issue to give back to the community, maybe with a survey. Would parents and students be happier with start times? I would love to see that go out as a communication to the community. Would parents and community members be happy to see some of our budget go to another exit, which would be a considerable amount of our budget? I would actually put this back since, again, like we mentioned, it's hard for the board to make parents choose to take the bus or to control what time they need to drop their child off or what time they have to get to work. So let's ask the community and actually have some more communication with our stakeholders and see what their opinion would be, because I haven't heard anything about that being a parent and a community member, and I think that would be a great thing to talk about.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll turn it over to candidate Corrado.
So I saw my friend Ms. Schaefer hang her head at this question, and I think she's probably sat through many more meetings on this topic than any of us. But I do remember sitting through a board meeting where reports from consultants were presented, and there just doesn't seem to be a solution, sadly. You'd have to, I'm assuming that we're talking mostly about the high school traffic, and you have South Finley Avenue, which is, limited. And then you have Maple Avenue, and then you'd have to kind of create a road through the municipal complex. I think that they've studied it. Maybe they can study it again, and there's a new solution that hasn't been considered before, but believe me, I think you can trust that it's been considered ad nauseum.
All All right. Okay. Now, Ms. Penner-Smith.
Well, I have no idea if this would solve the traffic problem, but, in a world without any other constraints based on children's sleep cycles, it would probably be best to stagger start times on a half hour or three-quarter hour, with elementary students arriving first, middle school students second, and high school students last. But districts have struggled with this same issue for decades because school start times are often dictated by busing issues and after-school sports and activities schedules. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from candidate Molinari.
As someone who inwardly groans every time I have to drop one of my kids off after 7:15 at Ridge, I'm acutely aware of the traffic problem. And it's a tough one. I think part of the key to maybe alleviating a bit might be improving our working relationship with the town, because obviously this is something that's going to have to go through, town planning, police departments, looking at the roads, traffic surveys, things of that nature. So I think really strengthening our liaison to the municipal committee might be a good first step in taking a look at these problems. And, just off the top of my head, I don't even know if some of these things would work, but, maybe explore some of the benefits of carpooling, things of that nature, the other exit like some people have mentioned. But I think first I would start with strengthening our dialogue with the municipal committee.
Right. And finally, we have candidate Raccio.
Yeah, I think the board would benefit and the school would benefit from working better with the community and the town. We fortunately have a good relationship with the town. I think that's something that we could improve upon. We also want to find out why there are so many cars. Are there busing problems? And if there's busing problems, how do we address that? So it all comes down to figuring out what the root problem is, and then I think we could solve it. Improving the relationship with the town may allow our buses to park overnight in our parks, right? Because one of the problems that I hear is that our buses are coming from too far. So it all comes down to relationship, but I would rely on the town and the school working together, the town civil engineers and engineers we hire to collaborate.
All right. Does anybody have anything further to say on this question? All right, then. Well, we can go now to closing statements. And so we'll ask Ms. Schaefer to make her closing statement.
Thank you. 3 years ago, I was on this stage with 4 other candidates for 3 spots on the Board of Ed. The most advertising I did was through 2 pins that my daughter made me. I am not a politician and have no desire or interest in bringing politics to the Board of Ed. I am interested in having our district continue with its fiscally conservative budgeting, but also spend the money to support our best assets, our teachers. We have a district that is top in the state and nationally ranked for its education. Many of us moved here just for that. We need to continue to focus on all aspects of this education while always looking for ways to improve. Our district is not a business, and our children are not customers nor products that we churn out. We need to consider and implement the best practices and research regarding curriculum and teaching. We need to trust our professional teachers, and we need to retain our administrators who do so much to keep our schools running at this level of excellence. I'm running for Board of Ed because I believe we need to support our students in their pursuit of educational excellence and also prepare them to face the challenges of the 21st century. This includes understanding and appreciating the diverse world around them through critical thinking and creative problem solving. Our students need to achieve and also need to learn the skills of wellness and empathy for others. The Board of Ed's role is to support our schools in the pursuit of this excellence. I believe that our district is already strong by arguably any measures, and I will help to build on this tradition and continue our road to improvement.
Thank you. Now we will hear from candidate Penner-Smith.
Well, I would like to say that I am truly impressed with the personal and professional accomplishments of tonight's candidates and with the quality of this evening's discussion. I am sure that the district as a whole will be well served by the winning candidates. Thank you again to everyone who worked to put this evening together. I look forward to the possibility of serving on the board.
And now, candidate Corrado.
The field of education is facing many challenges at the moment. For me, the most important challenge is that of retaining our exceptional Bernards Township teachers and recruiting the brightest new teachers to join our district. Doing so will require thinking of creative ways to attract and retain the teachers who will share our district's vision for each and every student. Our community deserves no less. When I walk into any of our Bernard Township schools, I do not see a business. I see the future. I see students tapping into their limitless potential thanks to the teachers and resources our district provides for them. Whether that potential unfolds in finding the best college, in choosing a vocation that showcases their talents, or in working proudly at a small business in our community, I know that making those dreams come true depends on the decisions made by the members of the school board. That's why it is so important to have a teacher's perspective represented on the Bernard Township Board of Education. Contrary to what some may think, teachers do not choose their profession strictly for the money. They teach because they want to make a difference in the lives of their students. They teach because they want to be a part of a caring community. They teach because they know they hold the future in their hands. I promise, if elected, to keep the future of all of our Bernard Township students foremost in my decisions. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from candidate Blackman.
I believe I am the best person for the Bernards Board of Education because I truly believe in public school. We have an opportunity in our district to give every student exactly what they need, whether it's occupational therapy, mental health services, or an award-winning sports program. Every student needs something. I want the opportunity to help provide our students with everything they need to achieve greatness however they choose. I support teachers. I know they go above and beyond to be there for our children, academically and emotionally. I support our administration, who oversee huge parts of our children's education and collect data that needs to be reported to the state. Without those administrators, the work would fall onto our already overtaxed teachers. I support equal rights for everyone. I support a public school system that is going to work for the good of the public. That means supporting initiatives that educate the whole student so that every child in our school system will grow up to be intelligent and contributing members of society. I am the candidate that is passionate enough about education to ensure that we keep these great programs and initiatives. I'm the candidate that brings the experience and creativity to develop new, exciting, and innovative ideas to make our district even better than it already is. I know that teachers can't do it alone, parents can't do it alone, administrators can't do it alone, and school boards can't do it alone. We all must work together for the betterment of our student. I have spent my entire adult life working towards a better community through the power of public schools. I have multiple degrees in education and have taught children of all ages. Now I'm ready to take the next step in giving back to my community by standing up for all children in this district.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Singh.
Bernard's most precious commodity is our children and our students. That's why all 9 of us are here trying to attain only 4 seats. Apparently, our district is competitive at every level. I've learned a lot from the community, the parents, the students, the staff, and the administrators, and of course my fellow board members over the past several years. To be on the board, you really need empathy and must go in humble with a growth mindset. You have to be open to hearing from everyone, not just the select few you're friends with, or not the ones you share political views with. The board seat is nonpartisan, as we all know. And we take an oath to uphold those values, and I've taken that oath, and I will take that very seriously in the future as well. Some things that I'm personally committed to is upkeeping and improving the wellness initiatives for not only our staff and students, but also the parents. I think we all need to learn to be a bit more compassionate and tolerant for one another. School safety should be important to all of us, as well as student success. And success looks different to every family and every student, and we're dedicated as a board to fulfilling each and every unique need. We live in a very affluent community, and expectations are high from not only the parents with students in the school, but community members who do not have children in the school. They are still taxpayers, and the only way to ensure lifelong success for our kids and to keep our property values high is to ensure our school rankings remain high. I feel like we have a lot of work to do. I have a lot to offer as a board member, and I hope the community can recognize that. I encourage conversations with everybody. I reach out to individuals on a personal level just to see what they need and what they feel. And I hope that the district can see that I'm passionate about that, and I will continue to do so.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Raccio.
I've truly enjoyed this experience of running for a school board. I feel like I've met people who have become lifelong friends. I've talked to hundreds of people in the community, and I'm thankful for your guys' time. One thing to address, the schools cannot be run like a business. Right? In a business, you have the option of giving back a bad product. In schools, we have to take everybody we get. Right? So schools have to run more efficiently than a business. right? I think what you need to do, times change in schools, and the needs of the schools change. So I think right now what you need to do is elect a group of people who are not just going to pay lip service to retaining teachers or some of the other issues, but actually put concrete plans in place. You know, the board and administration has had plenty of time to work out these problems. So right now, it's time to put people with a fresh perspective on the board, and myself and my candidates here are the people for that.
Okay, thank you. And just a little bit longer, okay? Okay, now we'll hear from candidate Molinari.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters and the students for hosting tonight's event. I think tonight the real winners of this event were the community, because when everybody gets to hear a robust and respectful dialogue encompassing different points of view, everything benefits. That's the best of small town democracy right there. And just as our community is benefiting from this type of dialogue, I think our Board of Education can benefit from robust and respectful but differing points of view. There's real issues facing our schools. The economy out there is scary, things are contracting, there's mandates coming down from Trenton, and these issues are not going to be solved through groupthink. And the best solutions to these questions are not found through a rubber stamp. The best solutions come from having diversity of experience, a variety of thought in the Board of Education, and that is exactly what Larry, Chilla, and Nimish and myself will bring. So I hope in a couple weeks you all give us the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Now we will hear from candidate Chipak.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I would like to thank the members of Rep Club with the Ridge High School administration for hosting it. I believe with the diversity of backgrounds, skills, and thoughts, our team for Berners children with Nimish Amin, Keith Molinari, Lawrence Ratio, and myself will bring new ideas and practical solutions to help solve several issues the school district is currently failing to address properly. We are all here because our goals are the same. We want this school district to succeed in giving the children the knowledge, the strength, and the means to become our society's prosperous next generation. Thank you.
Okay, now candidate Amin will finish up.
So I am standing between you guys and everybody going home, so I will go quickly, I promise. It's been a great 1.5 to 2 hours. I appreciate everybody's time in spending it with us, in getting to know the issues. You heard a lot of the same things: respect for teachers. Teachers are great. All the students should be appreciated. I think the difference is we are really focused on actual results. It's too easy to say those words. We want to show you actual results. I think the board would benefit from a fresh perspective that Larry, Keith, Chilla, and I would bring. And I just ask you to keep learning about the information, keep asking us questions, because we don't have all the solutions. We're looking for feedback, but we are promising we want results. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, now we can applaud the candidates. We can, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it also takes a village to put together a candidates forum. So, you know, we should recognize the hard work that the students and their advisors and other folks do. Okay. And I'll be introducing David Barrero in a few minutes for some closing remarks, but I've got the rostrum now. So, you know, I also thank all 9 candidates showed up tonight, which is a great thing, okay? And kudos to them. And we thank the members of the community, you folks out there who cared enough to come and contribute some very good questions. I'm sorry we couldn't use all of them. You know, it is 9 o'clock after all. But as I said, it takes a village, and we had one working hard. But remember, this is how democracy works, and a good example of it tonight. But speaking of democracy, also remember, make your vote count, get out and vote, and David will have more information about that in a minute. Okay, now David Bararo from the Student Rep Association will have a few remarks.
Let's give a big round of applause for all the candidates coming out tonight. And thank you to everyone in the audience for coming out, learning more about the candidates, being involved in the civic process. It really is so important to learn about what is going on in our community. So thank you all. And let's get a big round of applause for all the teachers in the audience tonight, too. So just a reminder that a recording of this event can be found online on the Board of Education website and on the REP website. There was a bit of a camera malfunction. About 5 minutes of footage were unfortunately lost, but that's about it. That is it. And so, reminder that there are 3 ways to vote in the upcoming election. You can vote by mail, you can deliver to the county's Board of Election office to vote by mail. You can vote in person, of course, and you can vote at your polling place. So to vote by mail, you have to have a ballot, a VBM ballot, postmarked by 8 p.m. on November 8th, Election Day, or placed in a secure drop box in one of your Somerset County secure drop boxes by 8 p.m. November 8th, Election Day. The closest one is the Bernardsville Borough Hall. To vote in person, early voting, the Bernards Township Community Center Garage is the nearest place to vote in person. October 29th through November 6th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday is where you can do that early. You can also just vote at the polling place on Election Day, Tuesday, November 8th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you all for coming out tonight.